Mental training is something tangible that you can do to improve your life. And when I say mental training, specifically, I mean attention training. This is how the Warrior's Way approaches mental training. So when I come across a resource that addresses attention, then I pay attention to it. Case in point is Les Fehmi's book, Open Focus Brain. His method is called Open Focus, and he says that it helps you flexibly attend to your circumstances, to the challenges that you have. He says that this can diminish chronic pain and anxiety and increase peak performance. The cool thing about mental training, and specifically attention training, is it doesn't cost you anything. All it requires is that you put in the time and effort to practice it. Fehmi says, a life lived in flexible attention changes everything. Daily life is more effortless. A life of diminished chronic pain and anxiety and increased peak performance and living effortlessly, like who wouldn't want that? So this book goes into his open focus method, and he has a lot of exercises in it, and it also includes a CD guiding you through these exercises. So I highly recommend that you check it out. How engaged are you in your life experiences? Well, Fehmi says, many people say they feel they are merely skimming the surface of what goes on around them, missing out on the deeper feelings of life's experiences. Are you rushing through life, feeling like you can't slow down, and really enjoy and appreciate your life and reflect on deeper reasons of why you're here? Well, rushing through life simply leads you toward death quicker. And what is your physical life experience like? Fehmi says that we can suffer from ailments like chronic pain or headaches or ADHD or anxiety. He states, these kinds of health problems are epidemic, but in most cases there's nothing wrong with the people who suffer them, nor is anything necessarily wrong with their lives. Really? Is this all in your imagination? Well, maybe. Maybe there isn't anything wrong with you or your life. Fehmi says that we all suffer from an addiction to a narrow focus, and he uses an example of a lion hunting. Before the lion is hunting, it's in a relaxed, diffused attention state. But when it starts hunting the prey, that narrows attention, it's very single pointed and visually cued on the prey. Now, this has an impact on the arousal levels of the lion or for any of us. And it heightens your physiological and your psychological states. For example, your muscles tense and your heart rate and respiration rates increase. Now, Fehmi calls this way of focusing attention narrow objective. It's an emergency mode of paying attention, and it exhausts our energy through our physiology, how it activates our physiology, arouses us, and our psychology. And Fehmi says that this tends to be our default mode for paying attention. Fehmi says that while anxiety is usually viewed as a mental disorder, it is really the product of our mode of living perpetually in narrow objective attention, furthering a chronic engagement of fight or flight that has kept fearful, high-intensity memories and feelings repressed in body and mind. This narrow objective attention has these physiological effects, like I mentioned in the last section, like the muscles tensing. This muscle tension, this physiological aspect of this has psychological impacts also. When the muscles tense, it prevents us from feeling unpleasant feelings. But the energy of fear isn't gone, it's just trapped in the muscles. It's hidden there, and this can cause chronic pain. To release this chronic pain, we use this open focus method that Fehmi has to gradually release the tension. So essentially he's saying you feel it, release it gradually, and this can diminish the anxiety. Fehmi says that this narrow objective focus is an operator error, and we can improve our physical and mental lives by correcting this error. You have the power to influence your life in a positive direction, and you can address these physiological and psychological problems. All you need to do is to learn how to pay attention better. Fehmi says, everyone has the ability to rebalance and heal their nervous systems to end these problems, to dissolve their pain, to slow down and yet accomplish more, to experience life more deeply, to optimize the function of their bodies and minds, to dramatically change their lives for the better. He says the answer is simple. Attention is the central mechanism through which we guide our awareness and experience the world. Fehmi's open focus method allows you to use your attention to heal. It helps you flexibly attend to your circumstances. Now, he defines his open focus method as an inclusive style of attention that admits both narrow and diffuse forms at the same time. If attending to narrow focus, you simply include some awareness of space and of other sense experiences. So let's look at an example and then outline his open focus method. Fehmi shares a personal story that he had of experiencing severe pain with kidney stones. He used medications, they didn't help. He tried distracting himself, that didn't help. He tried creating competing pain by pinching himself, that didn't help. Nothing was help. But then he tried a new approach, and he located the precise location of the pain, paid full attention to it, not fighting it, but surrendering to it. In other words, he was accepting, feeling, and working with the pain, and the pain immediately ceased. Fehmi gives us this analysis of this event. A major factor in how much pain I experienced was related to how I paid attention to it. Instead of focusing intently on the pain and fighting it, or focusing away and distracting myself, the trick was to pay attention in a way that put the pain squarely at the center of attention while I remained relaxed and broadly immersed in it with other senses present in the periphery of attention. Then the pain became a small part of my total awareness. The core process seemed to be a shift from fighting against the pain to fighting with it. And here, when I say fighting, I mean there's an acceptance, a feeling it, and working with it. Now, this doesn't guarantee that it's going to always make your pain go away, but resistance to how life is, and in this case, we're talking about pain in your experience, that simply creates suffering. Fehmi says there are 4 main styles of attention. Each is unique, and when emphasized, it has an impact on your physiology, your mood, and your behavior. The 4 styles of attention are: 1. Narrow. You concentrate your attention to a limited area. You exclude peripheral perceptions from your awareness. This narrow attention isn't just visual. It also narrows other senses like feeling sensations or hearing sounds. It also narrows your ability to notice thoughts. You're narrowly focused to the exclusion of almost everything else. 2. Diffuse. Your focus is softer and more inclusive. It's panoramic, 3-dimensional, giving equal attention to internal and external stimuli, as well as space, silence, and timelessness. There's no particular target for attention. 3. Objective. Here, distance is created between subject, you, and object, what you're focusing on. This enhances your conscious ability to evaluate and control attention. This is how science works. It allows you to step back and observe objectively. 4. Immersed, absorbed. This is where the subject and object merge to unity. The self is forgotten. A lot of creative acts occur in this type of attention. The flow state is one example of this style of attention. Fehmi says that these styles of attention can happen individually or in combinations or all together. What I've found helpful is to shift my default mode from this narrow objective emergency mode of attention to a narrow diffused mode. This is the neither nor focus I shared in lesson 27. First, the dissolving pain example. Fehmi shared a story about participating in a sweat lodge ceremony. It was on an Indian reservation. As the ceremony progressed, the medicine man reached into the pile of hot rocks. He picked one up and turned it over and over in his hands, examining it slowly. Then he handed it to Fehmi, who reacted immediately and dropped the stone. He recognized he had been narrowly focused. So he opened his awareness, was able to hold the stone, and the pain dissolved. Recall that Fehmi's open focus method is inclusive, meaning that you're including this narrow way of focusing attention with this diffuse way at the same time. This is this neither nor way of focusing attention. You're neither exclusively focused on the object narrowly, nor are you focused exclusively in an expanded way. You're seeing and feeling the stone while also maintaining this expanded awareness. Now let's look at the peak performance example. Fehmi says that you need to know when to push hard and when not to. You need to know when to narrow focus and when to use diffuse or other styles of attention. If you only perform with narrow focus, you become hyper-focused and waste energy. You fight your own tense, overly excited physiology. This increases muscle tension and raises heart and respiratory rates. Narrow focus also increases performance anxiety. You can't relax, partly because you're trying so hard. Performance is when you apply everything that you've practiced. All these individual tasks that you have practiced separately now need to come together into one effort. You may need to narrow focus on a particular task when you're performing, but in general, you're maintaining this baseline neither nor way of focusing. This can help diminish anxiety, saves energy, and calms the mind and the body. Fehmi states that the ability to flexibly attend is one of the primary factors that make the difference between a good musician and a great musician, or athlete, student, or corporate executive. A life lived in flexible attention changes everything. Daily life is more effortless. The default mode tendency is to use this narrow, objective way of focusing attention. And used too much, it creates hypervigilance, anxiety, and wastes energy. So instead, you need to develop this new way of focusing, this neither nor way of focusing as your new baseline. Now, developing this is going to take practice, and I've outlined the basics of it in lesson number 27. What I want to do here is give you some other ideas about how you can practice it. So here's the drill. Do this for seeing, hearing, and thinking. Narrow focus. Narrow your focus to specific objects you can see. Narrow it to sounds you can hear. Narrow it to individual thoughts you notice. Diffuse focus. Focus on seeing the space between objects. Hear the silence between sounds. Notice the space between thoughts. Neither nor focus. Neither narrow a focus to objects nor keep it expanded. Keep it in between. This is your baseline. Narrow your focus to objects you can see or sounds you hear or thoughts you notice while maintaining expanded awareness. All you really can control or influence is your attention. So learn how to pay attention differently. Fix this operator error by developing this new default mode where you're getting better at this neither nor way of focusing. That will diminish the physical ailments and the anxiety that you're experiencing. You'll feel like you're not just skimming along the surface of life. You're able to slow down and go deeper in your experiences with whatever you're doing.